Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about some hyped books that I loved. Hyped books is a pretty well discussed topic here on BookTube these days, but I often feel the discussion focuses on the books that were overhyped that people just didn't end up enjoying, which is totally fine because it's a thing that happens often, unfortunately. But today I want to talk about some books that were hyped up either by the publishing company or just by the book community that I found myself thoroughly enjoying. I consider myself an easy to please reader, and I'm often able to shove hype aside and just read books for what they are. So a lot of the time these overhyped books are books that I tend to enjoy. So without further ado, let me show you guys some of the books that were hyped up that I've personally loved. The first book I have here is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and this book wasn't necessarily hyped up by the publishing company. This book came out in 2006, but a few years ago the BookTube community blew up about this book. People couldn't stop talking about it, and so of course that piqued my interest because people were hyping this book up like crazy. I'm looking at you, Peruse Project. This is a very well loved book in the BookTube community, and I finally picked it up earlier this year, and I freaking loved it so much. It definitely lived up to all the hype for me. The writing, the characters, the setting, the magical system, everything is on point with this book. The next book on my list is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This book started building hype the second this book cover dropped because everybody was like, it's beautiful! And it is. It is a beautiful book, inside and out. I'm almost always nervous going into a new Victoria Schwab book because I'm always afraid that the next book I pick up by her is going to be one that I don't enjoy, because so far I've loved every book that she's put out, so I live with this fear that I'm going to pick up a book by her and then I'm just going to absolutely hate it. But I loved this book so much. Even after all the hype that got built up for this book, I loved it. It was everything that I wanted it to be, and it proved to me that I need to trust Victoria Schwab more because she has become one of my favorite authors, and at this point I don't think that she can disappoint me. Next up we have A Monster Calls, and this is another one that wasn't necessarily hyped up by the publishing company, but more so by BookTube. This is a very well loved book on BookTube, and going into this book I didn't think that I was going to connect to it on an emotional level because so many people talk about how emotional this book is, and I felt like I was just going to be numb to it because I was going into it knowing about that emotional factor. Then I read it and I found myself just completely relating to the story at hand and absolutely loving every second of it. It's a book that had me completely captivated by the start and had me emotionally invested the whole way through. Then we've got Cinda by Marissa Meyer, and so many people love this book. So many people love it. On Tumblr, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on all the social medias, everybody talks about this book and talks about how amazing this series is. So going into this book, I was like, I'm probably not gonna like it. I'm gonna end up hating that book. Next thing I know, I flew through this book and I freaking loved it. Now this book didn't necessarily blow me away, but I still just had such a fun time reading it. It's got such a vibrant and diverse cast of characters, and also I just really love this setting, and I'm really excited for the direction that this series is going in. And finally we have An Ember and Ashes by Sabah Tahir. This book definitely had a lot of early buzz, not only from publishers but from reviewers. There was lots of buzz building for this book, and that had me kind of nervous because not a lot of debut books get a lot of buzz like this one did. And when I started it, I was kind of unsure as to how I felt about it, but then I kept reading and I kept reading, and I just found myself completely immersed in this world and completely hooked on the story. This world she built up is just so unique and interesting and detailed, and I just loved every second of this book. It was definitely worth all the hype to me. So those are some of the books that have loads of hype that I personally really enjoyed. You guys should let me know down below some of the books that were hyped up for you that you found yourself completely loving, or even a book that was overhyped that you found yourself hating. Let me know down below, and I will see you guys soon with a new video. Later. It's beautiful!